At least one person recovering tonight after being hit by a car. Ohio State Highway Patrol says it happened last night on Woodman Drive in Riverside, but this is just the most recent pedestrian strike in that area. Less than 2 months ago, a 14-year-old girl was killed on that same road. This is a closer look at that area now. You can see the corridor runs from Springfield Street south, and the city of Riverside says this 3-mile stretch to US 35 has been a problem and is actively working to fix it through a federal grant. Now, unfortunately, the city didn't have the chance to make the changes. Riverside police say 2 people have lost their lives after being hit on that road. One of them is this young girl, Brianna McCarthy. Now, Gwyneth Falloon joining us now in studio after speaking with her family. Gwen?
Adam, her grandparents, Michael and Melinda McCarthy, they tell me every day it gets easier, but they're always going to miss her. They say she was just the happiest person and was loved by everyone. Now, the 14-year-old was out with a group of friends when she was hit. She was on Woodman Drive, just north of Burkhart Road. The person behind the wheel left, and police are still searching for them. Brianna was rushed to Miami Valley Hospital. She was there for 5 days before she passed away on December 7th. Her grandmother tells me she was an organ donor, though, helping 7 people in her death.
Brianna was the love of our life, and she's taken away. Never got out of the car, didn't do a thing, and just left. And it was her girlfriends with her that got her out of the street so she wouldn't be run over, hit again.
The McCarthys say finding the person who did this, it won't bring their granddaughter back, but it will bring them closure. So if you or anyone you know has any information about this hit and run, both the McCarthys and police urge you to reach out. Riverside Detective Adam Todd is handling the investigation, and I have linked his contact information in the web version of this story at Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Well, this man here behind me is now behind bars after allegedly shooting at police. 31-year-old Brian Bryant is now charged with felonious assault. Fairborn police say they were trying to serve an arrest warrant on West Funderburg Road when Bryant began shooting at them. A Fairborn police sergeant shot back. Bryant then surrendered and was arrested. Police say no one was hurt. Fairborn detectives and Ohio BCI are now investigating.
A live look now at the AES Ohio outage map. You can see right now power still out for 126 Miamisburg residents after a car hit a pole earlier. Now, the vehicle was traveling on Banner Road, police say, when it hit a transmission pole, causing this afternoon's outage. AES Ohio said nearly 1,000 people were without power at the time of that crash. Here's a live look out on our roads in Preble County from our first warning weather vehicle. You can see the windshield wipers getting a workout. It's still raining out there, it looks like.
Yeah, it certainly is, but also the rain playing an issue. But are we going to get any more fog? We've really had a lot of it the past couple days.
Yeah, it's been very gloomy. We'll see a little more fog overnight, but by the morning hours, I do think a lot of the fog will be out of our region as we will start to see the winds picking up just a little bit. But overall, plan on a little rain, a little fog, and some wet roads through much of this evening. You can see showers still continuing to make their way through, heaviest of which is now making its way off to the north and the east. So in Champaign County up into Logan County, have some heavier pockets of rain right there. That will continue to head out with temperatures in the 50s and some 40s now. 45 up in Wapakoneta, but it's very mild for this time of the evening and for this day overall. Now we are going to see 40s across the area for tomorrow. Really not going to warm up too much. In fact, if anything, we may just drop a little bit by tomorrow evening as colder air starts to slide in. Unfortunately, not much sunshine either, but we'll have a look at our next chance for rain and even some snow coming up.
We have an update now to a story we've been covering for nearly a year. You may remember Robin Mobley, a Trotwood resident who had her property stolen through a quitclaim deed. Lydia Bice caught up with her and has what the county is doing to stop this from happening to other people.
Back in December, I did a story on the Montgomery County Recorder's Office launching their Exposing Deed Fraud initiative. We wanted to check back in with Recorder Stacey Benson Taylor to see how enrollment numbers look after almost 2 months of the program. She told me that since that last story aired, 4,000 Montgomery County residents signed up in order to protect their homes from quitclaim deed fraud. Now, I want to give you an example of quitclaim deed fraud so that our viewers at home have a better understanding. So, imagine a scammer notices a property sitting vacant. Assuming no one wants it, he creates a fraudulent quitclaim deed and forges the owner's signature. A lot of times, even the notary on the document is a scam. Now, this scenario is what happened to Robin Mobley, a Trotwood resident.
So basically, there were some arrangements made for someone to purchase my property. Within that time, I had left for just a little bit to go out of town, and he went downtown and filed a fraudulent deed.
Now, situations like this are why the Exposing Deed Fraud initiative was created. This system alerts you if a document is recorded on your property, whether you did it or someone else did. You can sign up for this initiative in person at the recorder's office on the 5th floor of the county building, or by heading to mcrecorder.org, which I linked in the web version of this story on Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Babies in the NICU at Dayton Children's now have some new clothes to wear. Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Mike Foley bought hundreds of onesies, sleepers, and bodysuits for babies. The money is raised by employees who pay $25 to wear jeans around the office. They were able to buy $820 worth of baby clothes this year.
It's nice to be able to have something that's very special, right? Parents might be here a long time with their babies, and so to be able to have special clothing certainly does make a difference just in the day-to-day positive feeling that parents may have as they're going through this long process.
Now, Feldman says it makes a big difference to know they can rely on this annual donation. Foley says they're going to keep holding this donation event as long as there is a need at the hospital.
The Montgomery County Fatherhood Initiative held its annual fatherhood banquet today at the Sinclair Banquet Center. The event was created to give local dads information and connect them with resources to help them be supportive parents.
You will get a lot of information about health care, about, whether you're talking about child support, being able to see your kids. We have representatives from our public defender's office here, from a lot of, mental health services as well.
Newsom went on to say this is their 5th year holding this event, and they plan to have an even larger one this summer.
Tonight, the National Museum of the United States Air Force is promoting the pre-screen of the miniseries called Masters of the Air. Veterans and those currently serving were invited to come out to view the series before it premieres to the public.
The series focuses on the 100th Bomb Group during World War II. Of course, they have a nickname called the Bloody 100th, the Box D, and they have a proud lineage. They earned that title Bloody 100th because they lost a lot of aircraft in World War II.
Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, and Gary Getzman are the producers of the must-watch series.
Well, the community was able to take part in creating the Oregon District Memorial today at the main branch of the Dayton Metro Library. The Seed of Life Memorial design is mosaic, sculpture, and poetry. It was chosen to be the 8-4 memorial to honor and remember the lives lost in the Oregon District mass shooting back in 2019.
It gives people the opportunity to physically do something to promote healing and trauma release. We all share this collective energy of grief, and this is a way to kind of close that open-ended grief with maybe a period at the sentence. Anyone from ages 1 to 99 can take part in this. It's literally picking up a piece and putting it into a piece of art.
Now, if you weren't able to make it today or would prefer to contribute privately, you can do so. You can contact the Mosaic Institute for a private session at midayton.org.
Jury selection now underway in the case of a former Franklin County deputy charged with murder. Up next, hear from his lawyer and the victim's family, who have very different takes on how the incident happened. And an investigation into OSU's response to anti-Semitism on campus. After the break, a deep look into the case and the university's reaction.
Plus, tracking more rain across the Miami Valley tonight. How much more we're expecting, that's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Well, for more than 3 years now, the family of Casey Goodson Jr. has been praying for accountability and justice. They've been pushing for a trial since he was shot and killed by a former Franklin County deputy in December 2020. Now, Jason Meade is charged with murder for Goodson's death, but he maintains the shooting was justified. Steve Levine was there as the trial began.
Cameras not permitted in the courtroom Thursday when nearly 100 people met with the judge, prosecutors, and defense attorneys as part of the jury selection for the Jason Meade murder trial. 250 potential jurors and summons as part of the jury pool.
Father, correct the foundation.
Wednesday night, hours before jury selection began, a vigil held at the City of Grace Church to support Casey Goodson's family. Goodson was shot and killed more than 3 years ago, December 2020. Former Franklin County Sheriff Deputy Jason Meade now charged with Gibson's death.
He needs to be held accountable for what he did to Casey, and that's through a conviction.
On the day of that shooting, Meade was part of a task force with the U.S. Marshal Service working an operation near Goodson's northeast Columbus home. Goodson was not part of that investigation. In 2021, Meade's attorney told us Meade spotted Goodson in the neighborhood as Meade's task force was finishing up for the day.
In that car was a young man waving a gun repeatedly towards the front windshield.
Goodson was then shot walking into his home. There is no body camera video of the incident. Meade claims he opened fire when Goodson pointed a gun at him.
The gun came this way towards my client and turned and was pointed at my client. At that point in time, the only option for him was to use the force that he used at that point in time.
An autopsy revealed Goodson was shot 6 times, taking 5 bullets to the back. Family members say Goodson had a license to carry a weapon and was carrying a gun, but he was not a threat to anyone when he was shot walking into his home. Now, 3 years after Goodson lost his life, his family ready for their day in court.
We're coming together as a whole and praying for accountability and justice to be served.
Now, Steve Levine reporting the 12-member jury and 4 alternates are expected to be chosen Monday. Opening statements are set for Tuesday.
Here is one last look from our roadways tonight. Awfully wet out there, Natalie. Is this rain going to continue for us?
Well, the heaviest of which is starting to move out. We'll see a few showers, but believe it or not, actually a quiet day for Friday. So heavier batch of rain making its way off to the north and the east. We do have a line of some showers back off to our west. Could send a few of those back into the region, but it's really only these next couple of hours or so we'll continue to see that rainfall before our next weather maker, which is already starting to brew, makes its way in for our Saturday. So heading overnight, we will start to see temperatures fall a bit. Cloudy skies, maybe a little fog, but not quite as foggy as we have been. And then heading into our Friday afternoon, back into the 40s. Saturday, rain develops by the second half of the day. And then as temperatures fall, we could see some snow begin to develop Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Minor accumulations possible, not terribly concerned due to a warm ground, temps around freezing, but it is something we'll monitor for this weekend.
A federal investigation now underway into OSU's response to anti-Semitism on campus. In recent months, we followed a string of incidents. Jeremiah Wilcock has insight on the investigation and the university's reaction.
The Federal Department of Education Office of Civil Rights sent a letter to OSU after they received a complaint accusing the university of failing to respond to incidents consistent with Title VI requirements.
There's been assaults, there's been vandalizations at our Hillel, and all of these feelings and these actions lead to such a feeling of unrest within the community.
Here on campus, there were several anti-Semitic incidents last fall after the start of the Israel and Hamas war. Last November, Israeli flags were vandalized and threats were made to students at the Jewish Student Center. That same month, 2 other Jewish students were attacked near campus.
What I am hoping for, along with all the other students, is that they see that it's a pressing matter and that students really do want to feel safer on our campus.
The university releasing a statement saying, in part, Ohio State has never and will never tolerate discrimination or harassment of anyone based on their religious beliefs, nationality, or identity.
Now, that was Jeremiah Wilcox reporting. OSU says it's taken steps since those anti-Semitic incidents. You can see them outlined here. The Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights has not made a decision regarding the complaint. The university does have the option of proposing resolutions, though, before the department's findings. All but 2 Democratic senators have signed a measure endorsing the creation of a Palestinian state. The 2 who didn't sign are Senators Joe Manchin and John Fetterman. The 2-page amendment will be included to the National Security Supplemental, but the ongoing war in Gaza is causing tension in the Senate as North Carolina GOP Senator Thom Tillis engages in a heated back and forth with pro-Palestinian protesters.
The ceasefire was broken on October the 7th. When we want to have an intelligent discussion about the murderers who crossed the border on October the 7th, I'll have that discussion.
This after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu argued Israel needs security control in Gaza and the West Bank as part of any peace deal, but all but dismissing the idea of a 2-state solution.
Former President Trump testifying in his own defense today at the E. Jean Carroll civil defamation trial in New York City. He only spoke for a few minutes, but said he stood by his denial of Carroll's accusation of sexual assault. When asked if he said the statements to hurt Carroll, Trump said, quote, "No, I just wanted to defend myself, my family, and frankly, the presidency," end quote. Now, the jury is expected to hear closing arguments tomorrow morning, will then begin deliberations. The jury will decide how much money and damages Trump must pay Carroll.
Speaking of Trump, the Republican National Committee has now canceled its move to formally declare the former president the party's presumptive nominee. A draft resolution was withdrawn in the last few hours. If it had been approved, it would have meant the RNC essentially opposes Nikki Haley's campaign moving forward. Both Trump and Haley opposed the resolution, saying voters should decide the nominee.
Former Trump advisor Peter Navarro was sentenced to 4 months in prison today for defying a 2022 congressional subpoena in the January 6 Capitol riot probe. Navarro was convicted last year for not complying with that subpoena, all from the former House Select Committee that investigated the events on that day. Federal prosecutors wanted a 6-month prison sentence and a $200,000 fine. His attorneys asked for 6 months probation. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam over downtown Dayton tonight. We've been talking about it before. You can actually see some of the skyline tonight, Natalie.
Yeah, not quite as gloomy as we have been with that fog. And also, it's warmer than we have been, too. We got into the upper 50s today. 57 was our high. Compare it to the coldest part of the week, which was Monday morning, 14 degrees. So we have warmed up 43 degrees. But if you want to go even further back in time, not too long ago, it felt like 20 below zero. So today it felt almost 80 degrees warmer than just about a week ago. So big changes. And then we do have a cool down on the way. But the good news is that it's not going to be unbearably cold. We're not talking about below zero wind chills. We'll start to see highs back down into the 30s, lower 40s, so around to slightly even above normal for this time of the year. Do have a couple of snow chances in there, nothing too significant, but I'll have a look at our 7-day with the latest on that coming up.
Well, the Actors Union standing behind Alec Baldwin tonight as he faces manslaughter charges. More on their reaction to the charges.
And a recall alert for just common cough syrup, what you need to do next.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. SAG-AFTRA is backing Alec Baldwin tonight as he faces a second involuntary manslaughter charge. The Hollywood Actors Union issued a statement today saying in part, quote, "An actor's job is not to be a firearms or weapons expert." During the filming of the movie Rust in 2021, cinematographer Helena Hutchins was shot and killed by a round of ammunition fired by a prop gun Baldwin was holding. Baldwin has since maintained his innocence, saying he didn't pull the trigger. Now, the actor was charged with involuntary manslaughter after that shooting, but charges were later dropped. This second charge comes after a grand jury indictment last week. Baldwin will be arraigned February 1st.
Now, if you happen to have this cough syrup here pictured behind me in your medicine cabinet, listen up. Robitussin's manufacturer is now voluntarily recalling 8 lots of the syrups due to microbial contamination. They include the adult versions of the Honey CF Max Day and the Honey CF Max Nighttime. The contaminated products have expiration dates of 2025 and 2026. Now, the lot numbers of affected products are available on the FDA's website. You can see those here. If yours is listed, stop using that product immediately and then reach out to the manufacturer. The company says that it hasn't actually heard of any adverse reactions, but it could have severe or life-threatening reactions in immunocompromised people. And the Cincinnati Bengals promoting an assistant coach within the organization who the franchise has named as the new offensive coordinator.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.